To me, and in my humble opinion, this is a very unlikely pairing. But then as I think about it a little more, it actually makes a little more sense. And that is Superman and Spider-Man. Who would ever think that you put these two together in a comic book? Now, I never read this book that comes from the 70s, Superman versus Spider-Man, and I don't know if it was actually a versus. Someone in a comic book in the comments, if you've read this book, let me know what it was about, what you think. I might try to find it, try to find a reprint and see if I can get my hands on maybe a digital copy. You know what? I'm gonna check Comixology and see if it's on there. Maybe it's on there and I can actually read it. But it seems like a weird pairing if they're gonna fight each other. And the reason I say that is Superman is so overpowered. What hero could you put against him in Spider-Man's caliber and class that would actually be able to go toe to toe? Don't get me wrong, Spider-Man is nothing to be trifled with, but up against Superman, yeah, I don't know how that works. Now, if this is a book that says verses, you know how a lot of books say verses, but it's not really verses. It's just these two people in a book, they have some misunderstanding. They don't really battle. Everything is worked out and they work together for a common goal. I don't know if that's what it was like, if that's what this was, but if I had to guess, if I was just taking a guess, that's probably what it was. Anyway, let's get into this article from superherohype.com. Spider-Man and Superman to lead two new Marvel DC crossovers. Spider-Man and Superman first had a crossover in 1976. That's a long time ago, with Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man, the Battle of the Century, which featured a story by Gerry Conway and art by Ross Andru. That was followed by a sequel series, Superman and Spider-Man, which was published in 1981. I didn't know anything about these two books. This was before my time. I was definitely alive in 1981, not in 1976. So, and this, I was 2 years old. I wouldn't have been buying this book anyway. But this might be something I need to go back and pick up. But I think at some point in this article, I actually read it in advance. They actually mentioned the fact that they're going to release a 50th anniversary, 50 years, that's crazy, 50th anniversary treasury edition of this, the old Superman, Spider-Man crossovers. I'm probably going to keep saying Batman instead of Superman or Spider-Man. I'm going to mix his name up in there somewhere. Anyway, DC and Marvel are now partnering for some more Peter Parker, Clark Kent crossover. Per IGN, Superman Spider-Man #1 arrives in March 2026 from DC, while Marvel will then put out Spider-Man Superman #1 the following month. Creative teams have not yet been officially announced. And of course, it goes without saying, especially if you're going to do a book of this caliber, these two heroes, Marvel, DC, get the right people. Don't screw this up. Let's see. Prior to those releases, DC will also release 2 Treasury Edition reprints of classic Superman Spider-Man crossovers. Treasury Edition, 50th anniversary of Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man #1 in January, and DC and Marvel presents Superman and Spider-Man Treasury Edition #1 February. The article notes. So you'll get the opportunity to pick those 2 books up and read them before this other book comes out, which I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they did that because I'd kind of like to get some history on, like, how did they meet up? What happened? What were the circumstances? Was it actually a battle? I'm sure somebody in the comments will let me know if it was actually a battle or not. Presumably, both Spider-Man, Superman issues will feature some of Marvel and DC crossover tales, kind of like they did in the Batman Deadpool, and they mention that here. As was the case for Deadpool Batman #1, that issue was released last month from Marvel Comics, while Batman Deadpool #1 arrives next month from DC. And I'm kind of looking forward to that to see exactly what direction they go with that, how they handle that book. I imagine it's going to be good. Uh, the solicitation for the forthcoming November crossover release reads: The Dark Knight and the Merc with the Mouth team up for an adventure so mind-bending you'll think you're in a dream. Brought to you by the legendary creators Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. Good team. And be sure not to miss these incredible extra stories. So you got Scott Snyder and James Tynion, is that how you say his name? And Joshua Williamson team up with Hayden Sherman for a magical Constantine Doctor Strange tale. That might actually be very interesting. Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo bring you an epic Nightwing, Dick Grayson, and Laura Kinney Wolverine story. Yeah, we'll see. Some of these matchups, I don't know how exactly they're good. This next one, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea how they pair these two together. Mariko Tamaki and Amanda Connor smash Harley Quinn and the Hulk together. Now, that is such an odd pairing, and maybe because of that it works, but I don't know about that one. Willow Wilson and Denise Cohen tell an electrifying Static and Miss Marvel. Now, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, they could have paired somebody way better with Static. Static and Miss Marvel, I would have, let me see, if I was pairing Static Shock with somebody in Marvel, who would I pair him with? Static. Maybe, I was going to say maybe I would have done him with Spider-Man, but nah, Spider-Man deserves to be with Superman, even though their power sets and the power structure is just so different. But Static, oh man, who would I pair him with? Now that I think about it, I don't know. Maybe like a Jubilee. Maybe not a Jubilee. I just don't know if Miss Marvel is the right pairing for Static Shock. That feels underwhelming. Of course, any story can be good. Maybe they do that in such a way that it's enjoyable. Anyway, let me know what you think about this Spider-Man, Superman in the comments. And if you read it in the past, or if you read it recently, or anytime in this era, let me know what you thought about it. What was it about? Is it exciting? Did they actually fight each other? And how did that work?